feminine mystique. Betty was one of the key figures in what is sometimes called the second wave of the women's movement. This week we'll be looking at another important individual in that same wave, and that is Kate Millett. When we talk about the second wave, the time period that we are primarily discussing is that of the 1960s and the 1970s. In the 5th chapter of her book titled The End of Woman, scholar Carrie Gress mentions a meeting that took place in the late 1960s. The location was Leila Karp's apartment. The attendees were 12 women. As they sat around a large table, they repeated this chant: "Why are we here today? To make revolution." What kind of revolution? The cultural revolution. And how do we make cultural revolution? By destroying the American family. How do we destroy the family? By destroying the American patriarch. And how do we destroy the American patriarch? By taking away his power. How do we do that? By destroying monogamy. How can we destroy monogamy? By promoting promiscuity, eroticism, prostitution, prenatal infanticide, and man, male, woman, female erotic unions.
Being as trans lads and lasses tend to be a bit more vulnerable than the general population.
A bit more
vulnerable than the general population based on number statistics, be it suicide rate, organisation.
What the fuck is
That is assault.
You were making a mockery.
That is absolute
of this entire
assault.
Fucking country. You would make everything worse. What the fuck? Why are you doing this? My friend fucking died last year thanks to pricks like you. I hope you fucking perish.
Can someone call the police?
My friend fucking died last year thanks to pricks like you. Why?
What else would get you in trouble? So, I agree with your viewpoint. I agree with what you're saying.
Can somebody call the police, please?
For it. Walk away now while you can.
No, you're not walking away. You are not walking away. Can you call the police? Can somebody please call the police?
Let go. Let's all let go. Let's just all let go.
No, I'm not going to let it go. No, this is all on camera.
Let's take a second.
I'm aware this is all on camera. I hope it
Can
is.
somebody please call the police?
Let's take a second.
I'm not going to let go of her.
Okay.
Right, she's just assaulted me. Really
I have
badly.
just assaulted
Yeah.
you. And frankly, I'll take the rap. I don't give a shit.
Well, you're not going anywhere.
Okay. So,
Okay.
look.
Right, I'm not going to let go until the police arrive.
Well, at the
Listen,
moment,
mate,
no one here is calling the police. So if you want to call them,
Yeah, I'm going to call them, but I'm not letting go of this person because I've just been
you can't-
assaulted.
But you can't call them if you've got hold of a camera.
Listen, right.
We'll have a chat about that later.
So you can't call anyone if you've got
Yep.
two hands on her, right?
Can somebody please call the police? You're under a citizen's arrest. I'm arresting you. All right?
Godspeed.
Okay.
But, just for what it matters, citizen's arrest not a thing. You can.
It absolutely is.
It's absolutely not.
Restrain is until the cops come is a thing.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll let the...
To an extent.
Can you keep holding my
Someone
camera
has
for
the
me,
capacity.
please? With this
You
gentleman.
need other people to share your hateful views. You need to see me
No.
fucking you up. You're a terrible person.
You need to... I need to see
You're
you
a
fucking me up.
You're a terrible person. Yeah,
You're not
with
going anywhere.
delicious,
Are they coming?
delicious here are hot chili sauce.
What you've just done to me.
What is your problem?
My problem-
Why are you out on the street spreading hate? Why are you out on the street spreading hatred? Why are you doing this? Why am I calling? I am a girl. I was born a girl. I am a girl. My friends are transgender. I don't give a shit about what you think about me. I fucking. What do you think you are? You won't fucking let go of me. You won't.
This is a critical moment. In, a few weeks from now, around the February the 20th, we're going to hit a 36-year, 3-6 again, 9, 36-year conjunction. The flower of life, which is in a circle, 5 times 72 is 360, which gives us that full circle. The circle is feminine, right? A bit like how you've got an oval, like a womb, right? It's just a circle. If you have a circle, right, and you can enter it like a black hole, like a black Madonna. There is a black Madonna, and the black Madonna is letting us know that there is the feminine psyche, that it is born through darkness, yeah, within that psyche, right? We have just come out of the point of darkness where the sun died for 3 days, right? Which started on the 22nd, which is again a number, right? And then what happens is we fall into the tree of death and into the lowest Sephiroth, which is Lilith, right? Which is the rebellious nature, which can go for or against us. Which is why when you have that winter solstice, the holiday season, the Christmas that they call it, right? A lot of people say a lot of different things about it. Oh, it's this because of because it's evil, it's this, the ritual, and so on and so forth. But what we don't realise is it's connected to the polarity of the soul. We cannot get away from it. So the wanting to have this revelry, enjoyment, and the consuming of all the dense material matter, right? That comes about because we've entered into the goat, right? So they had the Lord of Misrule in Saturnalia, right? So what would happen is if they didn't have what they call Christmas, they named it as Christmas. If they didn't have that, then the poor would rebel and they would go to the houses of the rich people and try to burn their houses down, right? Why is it like that here? Why is it like that? And then what would happen is the tramp would become the millionaire. So for the day or for the night, I've said this before in other videos in the past, that the tramp would become the millionaire overnight, and the kings and so on and so forth, the kings and queens would take that position, and they would have all the material, all the food, and all of the things, right? And the reason is because we're working with the serpent. The serpent, of love, the serpent of loss. It's polarity. The serpent works in polarity, in association with fire, right? So it's key to what we've just come through, that goat riding season. If you are able to do some fasting through that, you feel the benefit, because what you're doing is you're going against the polarity. So when you don't eat during the daytime, you might eat something later on. But I did it. I didn't eat during the daytime. Didn't eat, right? And the reason when you try to do this, when you try to do it, you're going against the grain. But at the same time, you're in goat riding season. So when you're in goat riding season, we have to embrace that also, because it's a polarity of the soul, right? The reason, so when these things are when this is taking place, when these things are happening, we are to become consciously aware of the workings of the grander reality. And the reason I say that is because the entity that governs this reality, which we call God is the devil, but what you call the devil, right, is going to be standing. If you can overcome this, when you leave here, it's going to be standing and clapping like this, along with everything else. It's going to be clapping you out. And the reason is because you were able to overcome the darkness. And that is the reason why everything is as it is here, and it's seen as it appears. There is nothing going to stop it from achieving its goal. There's nothing going to stop it. It's like they had this thing with the this digital ID thing a few days ago. It's so sad to see. They say something and the people buy into it, right? Because of stupidity. And you will be like that if you're not able to charge, right? So the AI and the technology, I was saying years ago back with these phones, when it does the predicted text for you, it's stopping you from using your own brain to create, right? So this is why it's this AI that's been brought in. It will work directly against the soul, which wants to create, right? That is a fact. There's no way of changing that. Now, this 36-year conjunction with Saturn and Neptune, look at the last one. The last conjunction, you see the collective conscious mind that we are connected to, right? Whether we think we're conscious or not, right? Yeah. It wants to unconsciously run away from focusing on the depths of the real work, which is you call the shadow, which is the work of the psyche, the workings of the psyche. The only way to upgrade yourself, right? Just like when Clark Kent turned into Superman, it's two polarities. Clark Kent, he works in he's like a geeky guy who's got glasses and he can barely tie his shoelaces up. He does the opposite and turns into Superman, doesn't he? Two different polarities. Serpent, right? Serpent of light and the serpent of dark, right? It's two different polarities that are at play, right? and he switches. And the only way you can make that switch, right, is by fully integrating the psyche, the dark tree of death operating within the psyche. And in connection with that is the shadow. There is only a few people that teach this. I do it. Mark Passio is another one that does it. I'm going to play Mark Passio in a minute. The reason is because I've just seen a video where he's been saying the same thing that I've been saying for years. What I teach, it's exactly the same thing, no difference. We have people on Facebook and so on and so forth, right? They have all these big followers and they want to perceive that they know. But what they're doing is they're only focusing on it's selfishness. Unfortunately, it is. They're only focusing on what they want the reality, how they want things to unfold, which is usually stemming from fear of negativity coming, right? You don't want it to be in this way. This is how we had this thing where there was one guy thinking, he was looking at a Mayan calendar or something, and he was coming up with this, the world's going to end and we're going to leave this place. He even came to me and was telling me that evil doesn't exist and that he really, really wants it to be the case because he can't take this anymore. But he was leading all these other people down the path of delusion. It's not true. It was never gonna take place. And the reason is the collective conscious mind operates in the light with the sun, is blinded by the light and doesn't want to face any darkness, right? And then leads everyone else. It's like this, leading everybody else down the same path, like that. Yeah. Well, all that jolly, like, going to tell you that you're sovereign and you're going to be free and you're a supreme being and you're doing all these weird, these wonderful things just so that you can like it. Narcissism, so that you can give your attention to it. And the reason I'm saying this, it's important because it has not served. It's not serving us. It's not serving. The only way you can make moves, the only way you can see. One of the things is this. I read a post about it. I haven't got it here now. I might put it on the screen. The secret societies, what they are mostly hiding is that we have the ability to bend and mold this matter. As I've said millions of times, I do it myself. Don't mind saying it because I do it, right? To bend it and mold it to suit your will. But you can only do that once you've come from Clark Kent to Superman. The only way you're going to do that is by overcoming Darth Vader, which is in the tree of death within the psyche, right? Which is all of the darker aspects of yourself. Or each one of us is capable of murder. Each one of us is capable of the highest level of evil that is here, right? Only through integration of the unconscious, right, are you able to transmute yourself into a supreme being, right? That is then able to bend matter to suit your will. When we used to be in the realms of the goddess, right, the world is totally different. I was looking at a lecture and was saying that the men, the women, they didn't have relationships. I said this before, when the woman would, like say if she was with a man, she would just kick him out and the younger man would come in. And the reason is, and when they used to, they had sex rituals where many men would sleep with the one woman, see which was going to be the most fertile to bring forth a child. Because the psyche was totally different to ours. But then that brings me onto something else that I found recently, which is brilliant. I'm always talking about, and I'm going to be speaking, it'll be probably because I'm doing 2 very short videos, right? We have to focus on the study of what's going on in the reality, right? So Paracelsus, who's an alchemist, I went through a lot of Paracelsus' work before, several years ago now, right? And he has come out, and he had stated back then that if sorceresses had a massive part to play, because this serpent force, like I say, in the goddess tradition, that also fell. Because the what we call the women, the sorceresses, the sorcerers, I always talk about sorcerers and sorcerers. The sorceresses, like alchemists, used menstrual blood, Amanita muscaria, all these different things, right? Because they would have done. We know they're picking herbs and creating hallucinogenics and all sorts. And then they have continued on these dark death cults, right? Dark mother death cults, right? and have continued on to create the pharmaceuticals, etc. that we, because Paracelsus and alchemists was telling you that, to create. So for example, how it works, right? The psyche doesn't, it continues on. There is no death, right? And it's so when a woman, which this is something I've been meaning to talk about for a long while now, it's like for ages, women will use the products that are, these products are poisonous, cleaning products and all these things, because they know, I think they call it atavistic, right? They know within the unconscious, they can put, it was, they did one with the, years ago, it was with the cake, I think it was Betty's, like a chocolate cake, and they put eggs on the packet to get women to use it. I spoke about it many times, to get women to use egg, to put egg in so they wouldn't bake their own cakes, which enabled them to introduce poisons into the cake batter mix. But they knew that the egg would be an unconscious symbol, a subconscious symbol that the woman would attach to and align with and use it. So because for thousands of years, the women were poisoning the men, like we also see today now, which is in the last video was saying, where David Beckham, Victoria Beckham, she perceives her child, which has come out today because the child has come out and said these people are torturing them, they're mentally torturing them because they're narcissists, right? That the child is only an extension of the mother. It doesn't have its own, you know, life really. That's how it is seen, right? And I say these things because me personally, we're going to be looking at the T-gender thing, but I can look at it. I can look at it. My mother is gay, right? And I've also been partly brought up by a crone, but I was brought up by my father anyway as well. So I had that masculine presence of that go attitude of someone's running a business, and so I had that. Luckily for me, I had it. My younger sisters didn't get to have it, but I got to grow up in a balanced family. Because you know what people do, and I've seen this. When you talk about the depths of the truth, they spin it back on you. I had one or two people that said to me, they thought, oh, well, Fabian's obviously, no, they'll say, oh, he's one you can see that he's got damage syndrome from his mother or something. That's what people do. When you tell them the truth is actually really spoken, people go after the person that's giving out that truth and say, oh, look, he's saying this because he's obviously come from a broken home and he's a damaged child. No, I'm telling you because I spent donkeys studying this, right? So it's coming from within what we're experiencing, right? It comes from the depths of the feminine psyche, because this is what births through life. And then they have seen that, and other people speak about this, but I know it, and it's coming from when we say, I don't like to use different words to define things, but they say Gnosticism, right? Right? Now, it comes from that there, right? Because even with, I talk about its active polarity with this fire, the linguists that break down about Jesus, for some reason, they think there was a Jesus, but people on YouTube, etc., say there was no Jesus, but the people that actually read that text, say that there actually was. And one of the things that they say is that the people back then argued the same thing as they do now, nothing new under the sun. But they thought, I think, and it was to do with Paul, and had to come and tell them it wasn't the case. They thought that Jesus was going to give them a new body. So it meant that they could sleep with their family, their grandmothers and stuff like that. Yeah. It was being spoken about between a couple of linguists and a podcast. I was watching it. Look at that, right? So this is why what I'm saying. So dark things that are here, they're surrounding us everywhere. But we have a truth movement that only focuses on astrology, flat earth, you know, what is it? What is a newborn? Incubator babies, that because, you know, cabbage patch babies that are coming through, all these things, right? Health, all these things, just fasting. Yes, I'm fasting, right? I never come out and say, right, I've just done 6 months with no ejaculation, right? I don't say that, but I do it. Of course I do it. I'm doing it right now. But at some point, I'm going to ejaculate. But I see people, and they try to give out this impression And it's because of the Luciferic pole, the ego, because the inner work is not being done on the psyche. It's deep. It's very, very deep. Lots of different aspects to it, lots of different archetypes that come through and automatically come forth, right? And it has to be done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play that clip from Mark Passio. You should recognise a lot of the words that I'm always saying within what he's saying.
The alleged freedom movement, the so-called freedom movement, what I unfortunately call the My Freedom movement, because it's not about freedom for all. It's about what individuals want freedom and how they want certain forms of freedom for themselves, and don't really care about injustice and iniquity taking place in our world for other people and in other places in the world. And it's devolved into a very selfish, alleged movement. And I say alleged because it's not moving anywhere. It's stagnant. And that is because people don't understand the aspect of spiritual work that has to be involved in it. The people in the so-called freedom movement, and what I now laughingly call the bum fight, I literally call it that. I call the freedom movement the bum fight, because it really is people who are not achievers. It's people who are really half-assed people. They're people who don't want to hit the bullseye. They don't really want the deep understanding, and they don't want to go on a deep dive. I find, before I even get into the dynamic that the question was about, I find that the modern freedom movement is very childish. They don't want to really explore the real underlying causes for the loss of freedom in our world. They're not interested in that. They are external lookers. They want to look to external factors. And when you ask people within this alleged movement, which, I wish it was a real movement. I wish it wasn't a wishy-washy, ragtag group of people just thrown together because they see some bad things in the world. They don't understand the causal factors for why any of those things are really occurring. And more than that, they absolutely have zero clue of what the real solution is. And I say solution because the solution is singular. And, that's what the question goes to. How is this form of self-improvement called shadow work going to translate to a greater degree of freedom in our world? Will it do that? And if so, how? And the answer is it is absolutely essential and 100% intertwined with freedom and can never be separated from it. That's how crucial and critical self-work, especially shadow work, is. So for people unfamiliar with the general concept of shadow work, I always like to just give basic working definitions. So shadow work is, if it's done correctly, if it's approached correctly, if the concepts are understood correctly, and then if it's done correctly methodologically, then this is what it really is. Shadow work is a set of concepts and techniques for self-improvement regarding the perceived worst areas of a person's internal makeup as a human being. And they can be genuine in their inadequacies, these aspects or dynamics of the personality or of the self, or they can be imagined. They can be perceived inadequacies or detriments. Part of shadow work is first really looking at conceptually what needs to be done and why it needs to be done, and then looking at these shadow areas of the personality, these dark aspects, these most uncomfortable aspects that we usually do not want to look at and usually stay nested at the level of the subconscious mind, which stores and records all this data far more than the conscious mind does. But we really don't see at a conscious level because we don't do the work to dredge that material and bring it up to the conscious level. And that's really what shadow work is. And it's a series of introspective techniques by which one has to be brutally honest with the self and not cheat, not go easy on oneself, not lie to oneself. These are deep concepts within shadow work. And, I just feel that the freedom movement doesn't even want to look at these things. I have literally spoken to many, many, many individuals within the freedom movement regarding this general concept of internal spiritual work. And most of them really don't take it seriously at all. I've literally heard the concept. I have heard the words spoken aloud. The word consciousness is meaningless to me. I've heard this term. I've heard that spoken from someone's lips to my ears. Okay. I have heard, I'm not interested in doing self-introspection and self-work. I basically don't focus on that. That's not something that I'm interested in at all. I'm interested in the external factors of how freedom is being removed from people of the world. And they literally cannot see the connection. And here's the connection, which goes specifically and directly to your question. Freedom has a very direct dynamic that is the driving force for whether we experience greater or lesser amounts of it in our lives. There is a dynamic at play in the universe that actually is a deterministic factor at a profound causal fundamental level. For if an entire species becomes a species that enjoys freedom for themselves, or whether they go deeper and deeper and deeper into tyranny, totalitarianism, bondage, and ultimately total enslavement as a species in the aggregate, not just as individuals, but as an entire species or race of beings. And I have asked this dynamic of the freedom movement over and over and over and over again. I mean, repeatedly, over so many times I can't count, to people within the freedom community, the alleged freedom community, my freedom movement, or as I jokingly call it, the bum fight. I've asked people within this so-called community or movement, what is the driving dynamic factor? What is the governing dynamic of human freedom? Is there one? And if so, what is it? What is the factor in human life that needs to be changed above all else? This is a science of behavior, a science of what you get when certain behaviors are put on display, and a science of how, if you want to change the result that you're getting, you must change the behavior that you're emitting. And in order to do that, you have to change your internal state of consciousness. You have to change your mind. Your thoughts must change. When you tell people in this movement that your thoughts have to change in a specific way, it is like you are the devil himself. You are the enemy to these people because they are religiously latched on to wrong ideas, religiously latched on to distortion of thought and bad habits and bad ways of thinking. And when the messenger comes along and says, you will never get the result that you seek with this kind of thinking and behavior, suddenly the messenger becomes the bad guy, because how dare you say that you know what the answer is? And this comes from a fundamental lie that they're telling themselves. And I covered this in the shadow work seminar. We'll go back to the fundamentals and get to what the real dynamic that governs human freedom is, and how shadow work is connected to freedom inextricably. Okay. But when I'm attempting to explain to people in the shadow work seminar, a big concept is you can't fall into the dynamic that there's no such thing as a correct answer, or it's just all a matter of opinion, or my feelings can govern this and they can guide me only. There is a truth regarding what the dynamic of freedom is governed by. It's not a nebulous thing that is unknowable. This is part of the thing that really aggravates people's ego, because the ego wants everything to be relative. The ego doesn't want certainty. It wants nebulousness. It wants non-clarity. It wants cloudiness. The ego loves uncertainty, cloudiness, and doubt, because then there's always a doorway for an excuse. There's always an out to make some kind of an excuse for why you're not doing good enough, for why you're failing in your performance, for why your inadequacies remain unaddressed, for why all the dark aspects of the personality and one's being just go unimproved. You see, that's why the ego loves relativism. The ego loves doubt. The ego loves uncertainty, and it loves nebulousness and cloudiness. So the first thing you have to understand is answers, true answers, exist to how this all works. True answers and objective reality and truth. It works a certain way, and it is discoverable by human beings. The creator of the entirety of the universe and all of its laws and dynamics did not make everything work according to the function of law, of natural laws in creation, to torment us endlessly with their alleged unknowability. This is called postmodernism, that there's no such thing as truth, that everything is some nebulous, hazy concept that people can either believe with their feelings or not believe. Belief is nonsense. It's religious thought. It's distortion of thought, not getting down to the actual governing dynamics and causal factors. Is the actual problem in thought, or thinking that they're unknowable? They are not unknowable. They are knowable through hard work and challenging the self to discover those truths and those dynamics. And this is what the people in the freedom movement don't want. They don't want the responsibility that comes with that hard work and hard-won knowledge. They're not interested in that because they want to remain cosmic children who are just saying, well, that's someone else's responsibility to come up with those answers. So when you ask people what it is, they never give the correct answer of what is the driving and governing dynamic of human freedom. They'll always say a million different things. They'll say a million different answers, but they never get the answer correct. And the correct answer is true objective morality is the governing dynamic and the driving factor for human freedom and all forms of freedom. And if you don't have morality correct, factually and objectively, you are always going to be sliding into deeper totalitarianism and tyranny and slavery. Beings in the aggregate as a species on any planet in the entire manifested 3D universe display truly objectively moral behavior. Those beings as a species in the aggregate become more free. They enjoy greater states of freedom, and then their society and their individuals that comprise it can go on to embody and express more complexity as beings and go to greater states of consciousness, greater states of even technology, greater states of awareness, and then they get to explore more dynamics and more aspects of the universe and of creation. As beings in the aggregate, anywhere in the 3D manifested universe, display behavior collectively in general that is not truly objectively moral and is in fact actually immoral behavior, those beings in the aggregate become less free and become more enslaved and experience greater amounts of shutdown, greater amounts of control, greater amounts of totalitarianism and tyranny and enslavement in their
this truth movement has turned out to be full of narcissism, people that are just blatantly just lying just to get likes and just being something that, because in reality, with the thing with being an adept initiate, the person that you are listening to, they have to have been doing that work for 15, 20 years, and it has to be that they are now, that wisdom is now being placed in action within their actual life. You have to be able to have seen that they have transmuted from lead to gold in the physical. Yeah. In order for you to be sat down there, listening to all of the words that are coming out of their mouth and handing your power over to them by saying, oh, great, you're so great. But you're doing ourselves a disservice. Do you know why? You've only got 3 years left. What is 2026 now? 2020. when they tell you that the digital ID, now, these two planets that are coming together, right, bring about fear, bring about paranoia, and bring about deception when Neptune and Saturn comes together, right? Now, 1913, which before one of the conjunctions was 1917, but 1913 was the Federal Reserve when they brought this money system in, this evil system with this scarcity-based system, right? In the 27th year of the 1900s, the television came through, right? After this, right? Then in the 58th year, which again is the 13 again, right? You had this space race where they discovered this Van Allen box, the firmament, right? Pretty much, and they created their NASA in that year at the same time as well. Now, all of these things happen around this 36-year conjunction that's coming to us within a few weeks from now, right? So in 1989, right, the web was created, but there was this satanic panic as well, which is creating paranoia about this Satanism. I think it was even these moral scenario took place, wasn't even real, right? Pure paranoia. So how can you think that you worship astrology as though it is your God when these planets are coming together? They are sometimes creating wars or creating and dissolving. They're not actually working for or against you. They're doing what they're doing and bringing through this script, because the entity that governs this reality is not working for or against you either. That's why in the old world they used to look at God as something that could go for or against us. It doesn't have to be for us. It doesn't have to be against us. There was no devil. That was just God was operating on two polarities. He can be good. He can be good just based upon your conduct and how you are. That's how it was. So we're still tied in to this religion that has been given to us unconsciously. So, 1989 was, the web, the internet was created, right? The US invaded Panama, the Persian Gulf War. It was the start of when they were looking at the war, right? The Gulf War, I think it was, right? It was when they first started doing 24-hour televised news, right? So these conjunctions is bringing this movie mirror into place. It's bringing it into play, right? When I do my next video properly, I'm going to look at how the movie mirror with kids, there's something with kids, movies and stuff like that and things like that, how it's like a chanting that they get you to do within the songs that have been actually created. So even in the other conjunction, right, 1952 and 53, right, MK Ultra was created, the Korean War took place. These things, the Cold War intensified. It signaled the beginning of it and the ending of it. In the 1950s, it started it, and then and what are they bringing now? This war theme is coming in right before it. Yeah, they know it. Other entities that operate that look like humans, right? That we would call, you call them interdimensional, etc., but they look like us, right? They know it, and they're following the script straight the way through, and they're going to bring out, the reason they can pull back this digital ID thing, they spent millions on it. The amount of contracts they have on it, you understand how the technology works, you can't get rid of it, it's a done deal. Well, the wars, because of this conjunction coming together, right? Like the first atomic bomb test began, so this nuclear thing came about. That's what kind of paranoia did that create, right? When they will bring out these AI systems, right? And then the people who we know, who right? Not going to mention their names. With the war with Palestine and the rest of it, and those that create it, work with the Kabbalah, right? Will bring about and bring that Google over into their place with the technology that they've got to put everyone in a digital prison, based around the wars that they're creating. That's why you got that Trump guy going on crazy, right? Trump card, right? So I wanted to explain that, because you can see now clearly that these what you call planets, these archons, they are working with Yaldabaoth, Demiurge, any name you want to give to it. The AI entity that governs this reality, that works directly against the soul, is there for us to overcome it. But when you bow down to it and you think, oh, astrology, this God, how could you know that when you already know, that it's not working for or against you? It's bringing wars. What? It's bringing wars, right? So therefore, it's not the core essence of what we know to be the source creating force that operates in absolute, that operates with pure love, unified, right? So we'll end that here, and then I'll see you on the other side when I explain, when we study how the psyche works in real time. What we're going to do now, what we're going to do here is we're going to conduct a study, a study on the psyche, how it should be done, right? If we want to know exactly what it is that we're living in, and we want to know the truth, the real truth, and we want to make a discovery, a discovery has to be made, right? So what the best way to do this is to do it in the purest form that it should be done. As what we've been given as how truth actually works, what it is a watered down, almost fake version of how we actually really make a discovery and how we really work out and, you know, uncover what this actually really is that we're immersed within, right? And to do that, it takes strength and courage, and it takes the ability to be able to look and gaze at darkness. It's the only way. There's no other way to it. If that isn't done, then we are further burying ourselves in further delusion and further illusions, right? And it takes place, that happens within the 9th Sephiroth, right? It takes place there. It takes place in Yesod, the foundation. And in that foundation is where a lot of, you know, not even in Yesod, in the husk, in the shadow of Yesod, in the 9th shadow. 9 is die, right? To die is the 9. The 9 is also the astral sun as well. And sun is also 9, right? So 9 also points down to the underworld, which is where we are right now, right? So we have to uncover what goes on in the depths of the darkness in order to be fully liberated and to fully access the light. This is how things really do work, right? Now, that isn't being done. That hasn't been done, and because it hasn't been done correctly, then in actual fact now, what we call as a truth movement has to actually be changed. We have to, because if you think about it, right, if you look at something like a YouTube, or you look at any of these platforms that people are using, right, we use them without even thinking, and we put truth on there, and we try to build communities, all this sort of stuff, but there's one crucial factor that's missing. Who created it? The entities that created it already knew, they know, right? They know exactly how it's going to unfold. They knew that before it was given out. They knew it. So when we look at this Sophianic, what's been given to us as the story of Sophia, right, for example, in Gnosticism, right? If we take it outside of the definition of the bracket of Gnosticism, right, as what it is, we know that it is the case, right? I know this myself metaphysically by coming outside of this physical reality. I was dealing with it only a few days ago, right? And not just dealing with it, experiencing it for what it is the truth being revealed to me outside of the physical, beyond the astral, right? And this has been created. It's almost like there are lots of different simulations taking place, right, simultaneously, right? But this one is almost infected, right, by a mind virus, but also it operates through Thaumiel, which is the head, which is the dual-headed god, right, which operates as the head of the tree of death. I'm going to reveal to you in a minute why I'm always talking about the Kabbalah, right? Now, at the head of that, on the tree of life, the head of that, right, is Keter, which is unity. But this simulation, if you want to call it that, this construct that we're in, right, it works through electromagnetism. It works via that. The force that governs it its energy signature operates with electromagnetism. That is what it is. So it is almost, and they say this as well about this demiurgic force, if you want to call it that. It's almost like a psychopath. It's almost bipolar. And why is it bipolar? The reason it's bipolar is because of the transverse wave effect of the magnetism. So what do we have? So we come outside of that. We use some syncretism to do it. We're always going to use that because everything has to be synchronized right here, and that's how we find truth, right? but we have to go a lot deeper than what we've been working with, right? The tree of death and the tree of life. Yeah, the red and the blue, black and white, the red and the blue, two polarities. These two polarities, right? So good and evil, right? So when to eat from the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, so it's telling you there in the Bible, which is just the Kabbalah. So when it gives you heaven and hell, they are talking about the psyche. Here, you can have heaven here, and you can have hell here, via the psyche. Mark Passio is busting a blood vessel on that video I played earlier, trying to get this home, and he's been trying to get this home for donkeys. I've been trying to get this home for donkeys for a long time, right? Because if you are a true occultist, we know that this is the case, right? If the psyche, which again I'm going to go back to the mother, right? The mother, the feminine psyche is at the forefront. It leads. It's the leader, right? Which is why, and the child comes through. How many times I've explained this? When a child comes through, it looks at its mother and it sees its mother, in actual fact, as the masculine. But it sees its mother as everything. And it is absorbing everything that comes through the mouth of its mother. In the Bible, it will tell you, the worst thing a man can do is be around a quarrelling woman. The woman has a mouth like a sword, right? Right. And her mouth is the deciding factor of how that offspring will project itself into the world. Now, I'll tell you how this works also. There is an echoing effect here. When something takes place, it also takes place on the macro scale. Macro, right? With every single thing, it's amplified. So when one is not ejaculating, so I'm not ejaculating, right? When it comes to after goat riding season, I wouldn't do anything. I'm going to continually, you want to call it semen retention? Bam, a minimum 6 months, right? And whilst I am doing that, I am going to use the feminine as a portal, as I've explained over the years multiple times, right? As a portal, as a charging mechanism, right? And I will experience extreme ecstasy through that portal without ejaculation. These are things that have to be mastered, right? This is what you call as a body. It is a as I've explained many times, it's a technological tech. So also, like say with the AGU, if I use that to charge the brain, I'm going to charge electric synaptics, and I'm going to charge that, and I'm going to magnify my field, which is going to enable me to be able to create. I'm not going to go into telling you exactly how to do it, right? And then because of that, that is enabling me to, it's amplifying my ability to be able to create. There are techniques involved in both of the things that I've just explained that make that happen, right? The ecstasy that is experienced without the carnal ejaculation that we're speaking about here is way beyond that and lasts much longer and is amplified throughout the course of a day, right? When I say amplified, it's not amplified, it's just continued. But the amplification takes place almost immediately through operating with this through this portal without any form of ejaculation. But what most truthers have been taught, or not they've been taught, the collective conscious mind is always moving itself away from the psyche. Unconsciously, we are doing this. So I was speaking to someone only the other day who comes to me, speaks to me. You know, people have done that over the years. We have conversation, and he was saying a lot of people in truth have been led to believe or think that they shouldn't have a partner, and because it's stopping them from X, Y, Z. No, it's stopping you by not being one with the counterpart, the opposite sex, because now you are working with just one force of your own, which is also dual again, but you are missing the other counterpart that goes with it. This is what I mean, right? This has been created in a particular way, and it has to be. This is what we're going to see when we do this study that we're going to do now, right? That there is objective truth, but the beings here, which is Satanism, right? They think that there's no objective truth, and they are the arbiter of their own truth, and it doesn't work like that, right? And that is also happening in these areas of truth, and the reason for that is because we are not able to physically sit together. Because if we physically sit together, I have no issue at all. I would love it to be that the case that we could physically, because I have nothing to hide, because what I reveal in these videos, this is me. There are people that are where I am, I communicate with, they've followed my work and they've learnt from me, etc. And they're here in Portugal, right? And they have met me, and this is what I do. This is me, done, bam, that's it. Authenticity. But I know there are many others who are not, you are not seeing their true authentic way of being. We're not seeing that. And these things, again, I say micro, macro, the laws come in and they affect us because we're not operating in truth. And what I was saying by the micro, macro is the vagina, right, has the ability to take away the life force of the man. It at any moment, but he is not aware of this because it's happening in the unconscious. He's not, because he is unconsciously not aware, right, of how this works, right? So in his working around in the conscious, just bear with me a minute, working around in the conscious, right, that can't be seen, that can't be known, right? It can't be known, right? So I've got a couple of devices here at the minute, they're all going off at the same time, right? So working in the man walks around in the light, in the conscious light, which is illusory. So he doesn't realise that the part that what you are working with next to you, if you are not in harmony, is designed to steal your life force. Because if he doesn't give it, and that's why with the truth that I'm working with here in the life that I'm living in this life here, me and my partner, we're working in tandem. So it's known that we're not gonna do that. We know we're not gonna, because we're working in truth to do that. But in other circumstances, there is a friction already taking place, because even if you were aware of that but your partner wasn't, she's unconsciously going to try to steal your life force. Now, this dark mother, if it is not fully integrated, will do that. I wrote a post about that, and as I do these clips, I'm going to talk about that. I talk about that post, because the dark mother within the psyche of the feminine wants to destroy and destruct, and we all have that self-sabotaging. But because she's the leading power, right? When she does it, it destroys everything. So this is what we're gonna be looking at, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just read these two. This is from Morals and Dogma, right? Which is Albert Pike. Now, Albert Pike, actually, what we're living in today, right? Some say it's conspiracy, but we're living in it. This Luciferian doctrine where, and the women like Kate Millett we looked at before, and some of these others, which I'll play when we go through this. I played it before in a previous video, where the women, the Luciferians, right, which is coming from these we're coming from these goddess fallen dark mother cults going back pre-dynastic, thousands of years, right? That is where it originates from, not man. We have this image of a man in a suit, Rothschilds. No, that's just what's being given to us. Behind that are a sorceress, super powerful women, right? And they have carried this on, right? I mean, someone was saying they would, I think the Hyksos in Egypt, ginger head. I think in that fact it's Michael Tessarian that speaks to that, right? Ginger head, like Queen Elizabeth I, with a rage that they're working with. Evil, right? Evil. I think he was saying that Scotia that came from Egypt to the UK, which is where Scotland comes from, was one of these, right? And the reason I talk about people like Mark Tessarian and Mark Passio, because they are giving that a very similar, because it is the truth. There's only one truth. And these are giving out the core of it. And we're giving out the core. I do it, they do it, and I do it. And I've been doing it for years, and they've been doing it for years. We're all in our own area, but I'm going to quote those two guys, because the work that they're doing is phenomenal, and it's grand, and it's the truth. And it's hitting the nail on the head. We don't want to hit the nail on the head. You want to beat around the bush and worry about all the tinsel. You don't want to go straight to the core root of the root of the tree, right? And because of that, it's like we are going into a World War III scenario, which, I mean, they came out today. Code word 72, and prepare a kit. Prepare a kit to last you 72 hours. United Kingdom. I'll put it up on the board here. But let me just read this morals and dogma, and then we'll go from there. Okay, and then we'll actually go into the actual study, which is the meat of this actual video. Right. So it says their true implication is reserved for the adepts. Right. So I'll start a little bit higher than that. Part of the symbol are displayed there to the initiate, but he's intentionally misled by false interpretations. So the initiate is coming into Masonry, and a lot of the Masons now, which has come out because all truth has been revealed in United Kingdom again, right? Which is where I've said a lot of this is going to go down, a lot of the fireworks is going to take place there, and I've said it has been happening. The Masons they've had to come out and say, I think the police have made them come out and say, which is crazy that they're doing that, right? They want to know who is actually a Mason, because if you look at it, there's only so long things can go on for. The amount, I've seen it firsthand in Pickering in York myself, where the Masons were trying to take the land off of someone, and they even sent people coming in from the local satellite television company. The guy was a Mason, even coming in to come and disrupt and cut cables in his house, right? That's the levels that they can go to, right? So obviously things have to be revealed, right? So that's also coming out now. Why would they do that? Why would they do that to themselves? You see, it has to be revealed. But that doesn't mean that the matrix is falling down because they're doing that. So I continue. So it says, it is not intended that he shall understand them, but it is intended that it's reserved for the adepts only. Right. The prince, let me just widen this out. The princes of Masonry, the whole body of the royal and sacerdotal art, was hidden so carefully, centuries since, in the high degrees, as that it is even yet impossible to solve many of the enigmas which they contain. It is well enough for the mass of those called Masons to imagine that all is contained in the blue degrees. Right. So even they, when they come through, they are given knowledge, degrees, but the true meaning to what is being given to them is actually hidden from them as well, right? So that's how deep it is. So what they perceive is that the average man on the street, the average being, you are known to them as the mob. The reason we're known as the mob is because we operate via ignorance, selfishness, and fear. Those are the three pillars that we operate by in the tree of death. And obviously there are obviously more defects as well that we have. And the reason that I say we is because we're not separate. We've perceived that we're somehow separate because we're becoming aware of what's happening around us. Some of us are not becoming conscious, we're just becoming aware of what's happening around us. We are the layers and levels to everything. So some are becoming conscious, but we're being sifted into this, what we call the version of truth, a definition, a watered down definition of what a truther is. Really, you'd be an initiate, right? And you'd be doing it physically, not digitally. So if you were doing it physically, you would have to be, because if you were a narcissist and you weren't doing the work, and this narcissism was just running rampant everywhere, we're going to see it, and we're just going to out you. We're going to have you out, right? Because the physicality is much more, requires, that's a ruthlessness and meekness. It's much more ruthless and more, it requires strength and courage, right? If you're going to get things done, right? So if we're going to action truth, we're going to action our thoughts and emotion in alignment with the truth, then it's going to require strength and courage in order for this to be done, right? And authenticity, right? So they see us as that, as a collective, right? Because we're quick to fall into that. It's like, for example, this thing where I keep talking about Mark Passion when he had this globe on, right? So if he wants to have that on, that's up to him. But what I noticed was people are bypassing the core of truth that's being revealed, because you see, you're a slave, right? And the only way out of your enslavement, is because this is a mental construct, like I say, right? Coming from the goddess who's created it in a distortion, in a frenzy, created this particular construct, this one on its own, right? In a frenzy. Now, it's mental. So, the psyche is mental, you know, but the psyche's connection with the soul is the psyche, which is telling you it's a mental construct, right? There's nothing here that's physical, nothing here that's solid, right? So, therefore, if the psyche was balanced, you would see a whole... So what these fallen entities are relying on, that operate in the shadows, right, is that control this masonry now, right, is that they are falling off the back of your broken psyche. Everything they are doing is off the back of your broken psyche. If your psyche wasn't broken and everything was fully integrated, right, and individuation had taken place collectively, then the whole thing would fall down. And I think the whole thing would fall down and you would see a resetting of this reality. Not how you government and all that. I'm talking about a whole resetting of this reality. You would see something take place within the sky. You will see something. You will see this thing break down. Just like in a movie, it would fall down. And a super phenomena event, natural occurrence event would take place. We don't realise it. It's all everything is connected to the psyche, which is something else that I'm going to be looking at separate to this video, right? Which we're going to be playing and going through that as well. It's something totally different, but that is in connection with the psyche as well. So it goes on to say here. So to imagine all is contained in the blue degrees, and whose attempts to undeceive them will labour in vain, and without any true reward violate his obligations as an adept. Masonry is the verifiable, the veritable sphinx, buried to the head in the sands heaped around it by the ages. The seeds of decay were sown in the order of the temple at its origin. Hypocrisy is a mortal disease. It had conceived a great work which it was incapable of executing because it knew neither humility nor personal abnegation. Because Rome was then invincible, and because the latter chiefs of the order did not comprehend its mission. Moreover, so it basically it's going into saying, and there we'll just come down to the bottom of that. The symbols of the wise and the idols of the vulgar, and I can't see that because it's blurred out, or as meaningless as the hieroglyphs of Egypt, right? To the nomads and the Arabs, there must always be a commonplace interpretation. The mass of initiates of the symbols that are eloquent to adepts. So it's just simply saying there that only the select few were actually given the real truth of how things were and how things are, right? Everything else is given, and that truth is buried, right? Even to those that are in Masonry itself, says that when they walk around, when they speak and people question them, say, look, why is it like this? You Lucifer this and blah 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 blah. That initiate will always be like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, because it's not given to them, because it's only given to those who are able to see celestial light in order for them to be able to grasp what's being given to them. So even when we are given in areas of truth, right? Even still, when it is the actual core of truth is given, you will still deny it. I think even Christ, you will still deny me. You'll still deny it, or still not be seen, because the collective consciousness wants to run away from the actual depth of the core of truth, because it means by making that discovery, you have to visibly entangle yourself and dance with the darkness that you don't want to see, right? You don't have nothing to do with it, right? Unconsciously, you don't have nothing to do with it, and that's why we create truth, and then people resonate with an individual that is putting something out where they are hiding themselves from that actual core truth, and also they know that, but if they were to give that anyway, then therefore now they wouldn't be the Pied Piper and they wouldn't have the people following them. because the people following them also unconsciously are trying to run away from the psyche, right? So let's keep that moving. So it says, right, with this bottom part here we'll read. Profoundly ignorant of the nature of these mighty agents of divine power, we conceal our ignorance by words that have no meaning, and we might well be asked why light may be an effluence from the deity, as has been agreed by all the religions of all the ages of the world. All truly dogmatic religions have issued from the Kabbalah, right, and they will return to it. Everything scientific and grand in the religious dreams of all the Illuminati, right? What is the secret they are hiding? Jacob Boehme, Swedenborg, Saint Martin, and others is borrowed from the Kabbalah. All the Masonic associations owe it to their secrets and their symbols. Everything is coming from the Kabbalah. What is the Illuminati? What were they hiding? They're hiding the core truths that are hidden within the Kabbalah. So, one of the things that is in the Kabbalah is knowing that the forces that govern this reality, they are speaking to you through letter and number. Each letter and number has an electromagnetic energy signature, right? And it's telling you, and they're speaking to you through it, and it's constant. It's not just that's why I was saying at the start of the video, in the 13th year of the 1900s, you got that Federal Reserve coming in, which is this monetary slave system, right? And the 27th year, the television came, which is the movie mirror, right? A mind control program, a mind control system set up that reduces your intelligence, right? At the 58th year was when NASA came. What does that do? Then you know what it does, right? So now they create this globe scenario, right? Yeah, they create this Walt Disney image in the mind, taking you away from the geocentric nature of the reality, right? So it then goes on to say, the Kabbalah alone consecrates the alliance of the universe reason, right, and the divine word. It establishes the counterpoise of the two forces apparently opposite. The eternal balance of being alone reconciles reason with faith, power with liberty, science with mystery. It has the keys of the present, the past, and the future, because the Kabbalah was given to Adam by what they call angels. So it was given to Adam, because I remember before we looked at the apocalypse of Adam when he realized it was in a construct. So this was given to him by beings that operate outside of the physical, right? The Kabbalah. The Bible, with all its allegories, it contains, expresses incomplete and veiled manner only. The religious science of the Hebrews, the doctrine of Moses, the prophets. Some of it's blurred out, so I can't read it. The ancient Egyptians, etc. Also, it has its outside meaning and its veil and its veils. The Hebrew books were written on to record the memory and traditions. So everything is stemming from the Kabbalah, which is why a lot of the work that I've been putting out over the past few years now, so many years now, I'm referencing back to the Kabbalah, right? Because it's everything that you have been dealing with in terms of all of the things that you see, astrology and everything, it's all within that Kabbalah. So what we'll do now, we'll stop this here and we'll go and do the live study of the psyche in happening in situ in front of us, because that's how we do real gnosis. It's the study of the psyche in action, which is how we actually come to find the real cold truth about how all this comes together and what it is that we're actually living in within, what it is that we're actually dealing with here, right? So we're gonna do this now. Now this guy got a great channel. What he's doing, it's a great idea. Edge of the Matrix. If you don't know it, you can go and sift through it, and you'll see that what he's pointing out now here, he's looking at the transgender agenda. This is what he's doing. Like you can see it in the corner. It's written in the corner of the screen anyway. Now what I'm focusing on, I'm not here to focus on whether anything is right or wrong, or you should be doing it or you should be doing it. I'm not focusing on any of that, right? What I'm focusing on is the psyche, how the beings interact when a truth is given to them, right? So let's have a little look and we'll see how this pans out.
Thank you. What am I trying to do to the world? I'm trying to save the Western world from gender ideology, all right? What? Come here, come on. I'll tell you why, come on. I'll tell you why. Come here. Come stand here. I'll tell you why.
I see you at Hebden Bridge.
Oh, was you at Hebden Bridge?
Smash something in your face.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, it should, yeah.
Why?
Why? What are you doing this for? Why?
I'm trying to say...
You feel better? As a person?
It makes me feel better to save the Western world from gender ideology.
Why?
That's what I'm trying to do.
What was
Yeah.
black cap in your fucking stomach?
Yeah.
You want to be abusive to me then, because I'm a lesbian woman?
Why would I be abusive to you?
Why are you standing there like that then?
What's this got to do with a sexual preference?
Ah, come on.
What has trans got to do with a sexual preference?
Because you're hating against a person.
Which person?
Any person.
Any person. Right. What's...
Yeah, why?
How is it possible...
Say something to me because of the way I look.
What?
Say something to me.
I think you'll...
You see, so she's passively aggressive, and they're immediately they're moving straight with the emotion. What the situation is that what's actually taking place really, yeah, because it's coming from the unconscious. They don't want truth to be revealed, right? They don't want truth to be revealed. They as far as what's been done to through social engineering, right, is that they perceive that there is no objective truth. So, for example, if you take a language like a Portuguese language, for example, there's a masculine and a feminine within the language, right? The masculine will has usually an O, right? It will end with an O, and the feminine will end with an A. So if they wanted to say pello, the masculine would say pello, and the feminine would say pala, right? There is no third letter, the ending of a word, sound. There's only a masculine and a feminine, and the reason for that is because it's electromagnetism. We only have the active and the passive, those two, right? Anything else, it's not inherent within nature. There's only those two. That's it. There's nothing else in between that. Now, because of what's being done, the social engineering and everything else to do with the psyche, also to do with it is also stemming from the upbringing, because the reason is the feminism, right? And the feminism was installed. It's like there's a song. There's many of these songs in actual fact, but there's a song that I've been looking at recently, which is this one here, right? There's ain't nothing going on but the rent, right? If you want to be with me, right, you've got to pay this, ladies. This is the song. Now I've got the year of the song, but I know the song is very, very. It's an old song, right? A fly girl like me needs security because there ain't nothing going on but the rent. If you got to have a job if you want to be with me, ain't nothing going on but the rent, right? No romance without no finance. You'll know this. You may have heard it. You should have heard it. Now I want to know what year. Nothing going on but the rent. I want to see what year that is. That came out, right? Let's see if it gives me that. It might not give me that, right? 1986. That song came out. Now I've got an image in my head, which there will be. There'll be plenty of women that will have been dancing around to that song, right? And they'll be singing it to their daughters, and they tell their daughters like, "Yo, you're so gorgeous. When you grow up, all you'll need to do is be, or your looks, the way you look will get you out on in life. You just need a man will do everything for you just based on the way that you look, right?" Then that child grows up to operate in dysfunctional relationships, and then that gets passed on, and then they've got problems. They have children, right? And then the children's come from broken homes. This is how the feminists have done what they've done through the Kate Millets, etc. There's another little video. I've played it before. I'm going to play it again with the 12 women. I think it was Carrie Gress. She explains it. and they sat around the table and said that they were going to destroy the family home and the ways in which that they were going to do it, right, through promiscuity, prostitution, and so on and so forth. I'm going to end up playing that as well, but I want to continue with this because what he's doing is, because he's got the board, right, and what he's saying is that trans women are men, right. I'm not getting involved in any of this is right, this is wrong, right, but a man is a man, and that is it. He's telling you the biology of a man is, he has his biology, and that is it. Now the glitch is coming because they are perceiving it to be almost like he's homophobic or he's racist or something, and this is what they have done. It's very, very clever. So let's continue to watch and see the aggression that is being thrown at him, and that this could be any truth. This could be any truth.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, but I'm a lesbian woman, so you don't like me.
What makes you think that?
What, because of this?
You think me being gender critical is anti-lesbian?
Is it not?
No, absolutely
Why
not.
not? Why?
Right? This is actually an anti-gay, anti-lesbian agenda. If you, yeah, I'll explain it to you if you want. Yeah, I'll explain it to you. Right, so.
You know what you want? You want likes. You want likes on TikTok.
Yes,
You want attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I want that.
You're like that as a man.
I want that because that helps spread the ideology.
What, mate? Spread the love.
Let people just be what they want to be.
I agree.
You're what you
I
want to be.
agree.
I agree.
Why have you got to have an opinion on someone else?
Let me answer that. I'll answer that. Okay. People can be who they want to be as long as it does not adversely affect anybody else.
How's it adversely affected anyone other than you? Why?
Okay, I'll explain that to you. Okay. Do you think it's all right for a biological male to go into a female changing
Yeah, I
room?
do, yeah. I do,
You do?
Yeah.
And then get changed in front of a little girl?
Yeah.
There you go. You hear that?
So there's the selfishness right there. There's the selfishness right there. Now, this is one scenario. There are so many. If I were a board, and I had on my board, over ejaculation, constant ejaculation, boys being taught to constantly ejaculate, right, and leads towards this over-sexualization of women, where women getting raped left, right, and centre, and all the rest of it that comes with that, the paedophilia and so on and so forth. If I was to and I had in my back that if you were to curb this sexual force, then it would reduce it. I would also be attacked in this same manner by these characters, because what these characters want to do, they want this to continue as it is. They want it to continue as it is, and for everybody to shut their mouth, right, and for the controllers of Satanists and so on and so forth, for evil to continue to do what it wants to do, right? And that's what they want. And there's a level of absolute dumb stupidity that is plaguing this place, right? Television has caused it, and now it's got further now because the technology is doing it. It came out only, I think, today. I think they were saying 2 hours of scrolling for a child is turning them dumb. It's turning their brains into mush. And you're sitting there allowing it to happen because of ignorance. So this is a great study of the psyche right here now.
You hear that? Okay. Do you think it's all right to tell a young child that doesn't...
Decision to medicate me, decided not to go with therapy. So, very conflicting information from two people that are supposed to know what they're doing.
Yeah, so it's whatever ideology they believe in, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So it's the luck of the draw.
Yeah, and I think if I was actually sent for therapy, they would have understood that my transition was due to trauma. It wasn't due to any kind of incongruence. It was the trauma that I had faced, which made me incongruent with who I was.
So what the psyche will do, the collective consciousness, the reason what it does is it attacks anything that speaks out. So what we have a scenario where the collective conscious mind, even when it's subjective and wants to speak out as an individual, knows that there's an automatic knee-jerk response, like a backlash. It's scripted behaviour. So you've got the man in the street just like this. You've always seen he's got the Bible, and he's shouting out Judgment Day and all this sort of stuff. He's mocked and just laughed off as. he's doing it for some type of reason. So, you know, he's an idiot, or he's being abused, or he used to be on drugs, or he used to be. So people, you don't want to speak out because there's this fear of this isolation, which is fear. So the mob is, they know you as, we're classed as the mob because you operate by ignorance and selfishness and fear. Now the passive aggressive that resides within the feminine psyche. So this is a lady who's a lesbian lady, and obviously she's her polarity. This is why it's all about electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is where the expression of sex comes from in terms of gay, straight, all of these, yeah, because we're working with androgyny, which is the Baphomet. So we have both within the psyche and within the biology as well, you know, the masculine and feminine traits, male and female traits, right? Now, there is some text that was written by, I think, yeah, it's a book called The Great Mother, right? And in there, it will state that, and it's not just based around that, it's within the Goddess tradition anyway, and within the other forms of knowledge that I've known myself. Even when you look at the biology of a man, if you look at the genitalial area, where the coccyx is, where the breathing point is, where the base of the root is, where we operate the sexual force from where we command it from, there is an opening there for a vagina anyway, right? Which is then sealed up, and obviously the male parts grow from there over that, right? But other than that, underneath that, man is actually comes through as woman initially anyway. So before there was the phallic principle, the phallic principle was born out of the feminine. Before that, there was no phallic principle to begin with. That is a very wide viewpoint that has come because before there was land, there was water. So ocean water, which is the feminine, because the vibration was breathed upon the waters, which is Kabbalistic as well. It's within Kabbalah, and obviously you'll find it within, you know, the Tohu and the Vohu. That's how the reality was formed. There was the Ruach HaKodesh was breathed upon the face of the water, which created a ripple effect, which brought forth life. Whereas water is life, right? So here, what we see here, right, is where the polarities, they dance. So some are moved towards the feminine, some are moved towards the masculine, and this is what we have. But what we see here with this particular character, like I say, she is got the masculine traits, but in her psyche, within the psyche of the woman anyway, we have the anima and the animus. The man walks around with the fallen bride in the psyche, fallen psyche, right? And the woman, which is a woman here, the psyche is the dark night. So they are operating with this dark night, unconsciously operating within the psyche. That dark night operates with passive aggressive behaviours. This is why you will see Mad Max type scenarios incoming when we have to face what is in front of us. So what you're seeing there now, so what we're seeing is an attack on the truth, which is what we see. And here, this is actually the place, United Kingdom. I'm always saying with the United Kingdom that this is the place where you will see it's going to be, it's a massive point. It's a massive epicenter of how everything's unfolding. And we're already seeing from today, as we're saying about about with Saturn and Neptune coming together, it creates a technological digital shift, which I'm going to play in a second. It's only about a minute's worth, right? With what's been happening recently with this Davos thing. So this Saturn and Neptune, it's coming together now, right? You will see that it's bringing forth this technology. So now in the UK, there's news that's just come out today that they are, because the breaking down of I was talking about this a few years ago. It's a systematic breakdown of the system and then build it back. So the police force, they broke that down. So in the UK, I noticed before I even left there as well, that if people called them, they couldn't come out, right? So it started this Mad Max scenario, right? So what that's done is it's opened the doorway for them to bring in the problem, reaction, solution, the usual with the AI. So now they've just rolled out the AI and the facial recognition across the whole of the country. So here, what we're seeing, going back to what we're seeing, so now she's going to pick at him and say, look, have you been abused? What they want you to do what the unconscious wants us to do. It wants to silence the truth, but it's mostly coming from the feminine psyche. That's why here now you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 women there that are attacking any of this truth that's coming out, which basically is, it's designed really to protect children from this ideology that's being pushed upon them. So let's play a little bit more of that.
To tell a young child that doesn't conform to social stereotypes, so a young girl, okay, let me finish. A young girl that likes to play football and roll in the mud, like you probably did. So if you were born maybe a decade earlier, 2 decades earlier, they would say to you, you're not a lesbian, you were born in the wrong body.
People say that to lesbians all the time, every single fucking day.
Well, what they're doing now to young kids is they're giving them puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones.
You know what you need to do?
What?
Find a partner, trans woman.
I am married, by the way. I am married.
Be happy then.
Yeah.
Go and sit with your wife and be happy.
I am happy.
Why are you standing here then?
Now that's all. With this clip, that's it for me now. I don't need to go any further. Right there, right. What they want you to do is to, like I said initially, might sound a little bit harsh, but it's it's what we're sweeping under the carpet. They think that a man should be shut his mouth and sit down, right, and bow down to a dysfunctional feminine, etc., in his house and do his manly role is to be quiet, right, to not be an alpha male, to be like a synth. And she's just confirmed it there. That ideology that she's working with there has been installed from the feminism, the Luciferic sorceress, you know, the feminists. They have installed that. So in her adult brain, and she thinks that a man should, if he's not with a woman, or he needs a partner, and that partner should have him just shut his mouth, and his role is to sit in the house and watch television like Homer Simpson. That is what has been installed within the collective conscious. That is how they are perceiving the reality. So how can we how is it that we feel that somehow we could somehow be, the matrix is falling and we're taking it over, etc., when this is what we're dealing with? This is what we are dealing with. So they will refuse blatant moral simple truth, simple rights, simple truths, right, simple, you know, balanced behavior in favor of delusion and madness. We would rather disagree and say, look, a grown man can go in the toilets with children, right? She's admitted, she's saying that should be the case. Anything to stop that truth, or any kind of truth, that's uncomfortable truth, from being revealed and exposed. Partner Stacey brought this to my attention, and that motivated me to actually do this study, because I do this all the time, and it's how we actually really come to a clear understanding of the actual way this reality works, where we then put that and we add that to all the knowledge that we have externally as well, based in lots of other different areas, right? Especially a lot of occult knowledge. Then we put it together with what is happening in society. So this street, before I continue, right, is changed now. The way a lot of these streets in the United Kingdom, this is a little bit, before the realities flipped and changed in 2020, this street would be absolutely heat. There would be so many people on this street on a Saturday afternoon. You would struggle to get around all the people. So now, in towns like this one, it's a little bit smaller than this now, they've shutting everything down. They're shutting it down. So a lot of shops and stuff, they're closed. There's nobody around. You can see that the interaction, what the system is doing, it's changing. And they're behind schedule with what they want to bring out. Right, the word digital really to them, which we'll play in a second with this 30-second clip from the IMF, really means the digital control prison. That, and you hear digital, that it doesn't mean anything but that. Digital is a code word for that, and that's the reality that they're bringing in. So they're done with these shops on the street. Really, they're done with it, and that's why they're not actually really catering for it. But they're not actually really catering for the people. So the reason I mentioned this, what we mentioned, that's the guy in the green hair. He's coming over now. Now I think it looks like he's what they call the non-binary. He's saying that he's not anything. declaring himself outside of all the laws of nature. Now, my partner Stacey motivated me to do this video because she brought to my attention there were two people walking down the street. One that I think they were dressed as a man and a woman dressed as a dog and a cat. Full head costume, everything, right? You know, in the big fluffy costume. And they were saying that they are going to identify as a dog and a cat walking down the street. They were not a man or a woman, or the names wasn't you know, Julia and John. Or they were saying they were naming themselves the cat and the dog, right? And that's what it has come to. That is what because of the way they've been able to manipulate the mind with this satanic agenda, which is what it is. The Satanism is an ideology. So what we're seeing now is how they have literally molded what Satanism is, and they've packaged it and give it to you in physical form, and now you can see it, which is now where you move so far away from nature that as the generations keep coming through and you keep that ideology going, people will then start the idea of I am now the arbiter of my own reality. I am the decider of what actual objective truth actually is. And there is no objective truth because I am the one that decides that for myself. It's almost like a perverted version of Luciferianism, which is what we've seen in Albert Pike's letter to Manzini, which may not even be real, but somebody still writ it. And somebody still writ it, and that Luciferic agenda is taking place along with the religious wars that are happening as well. And this is what we're seeing.
Oh, yes, come on join me. Thank you.
Look at the time.
Why am I here? Well, I'm spreading amongst the general public what the harms of gender ideology are.
You tell me.
Pardon? So, what is it about my sign that you disagree with?
Well, I want to know exactly what you think first before I have a conversation.
Well, I think that trans women are men. It's quite obvious. And I think there's no such thing as a transgender child. That's what it says on the back. That's what I think.
Well,
what do you think?
It's fair for you to say.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's fair for children to explore their gender identity.
Yeah, I agree.
We do put gender identities onto their children as they grow up. Like, boys play with boys' toys.
Yeah. I agree.
Girls play with girls' toys. I don't see a problem with a child identifying with a different gender.
I don't.
Yeah. So
we've got up. My issue is when they tell them that they're born in the wrong body and then set them on a lifelong path of medicalisation, okay? So puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and then often gender...
The NHS doesn't allow that to happen until that person is of legal age to actually decide.
I don't think that it should be allowed with adults as well, because anybody that believes that they're born in the wrong body, okay, has got a mental illness.
I wouldn't call it a mental illness.
I would.
I would call it a different way of perceiving the world.
Okay, well, that's different, but we should protect people, okay, that might perceive themselves to be something that they're not. I can give you an example if you want.
You can.
There's a young man called Richie Herron, I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
Okay, he had internalised homophobia, okay, and gender identity disorder, which they now call gender dysphoria, okay. So he went to see therapists, all right, because he had this internalised homophobia that he thought that if he could transition to be a woman, it would be okay for him to be with a man.
Yeah.
Right? See what I mean? People say kill yourself.
But you know.
But what happened is, okay, he was confused. They said he was born in the wrong body. We can give you a vagina, basically, a vaginoplasty. We can castrate you, cut your penis off, cut your testicles off, invert the penis, and give you a fake vagina.
You look quite distressed when saying that.
Pardon?
You look quite distressed.
It was very distressful for Richie Herron. He woke up and instantly realised it was a mistake.
But you know, a majority of trans people aren't mentally ill. You know that, right? And gender dysphoria is not a prerequisite for having a trans identity.
Okay, so what is it then?
It's literally just I perceive myself within this gender.
Okay,
so this is the gender I want to express.
Yeah, but you were born a man.
Yes.
And you remain a man. You will never be a woman.
You can say that.
That's fine. I mean, it's not my opinion, that's objective reality. Okay?
Human beings have a sense of self. We're able to perceive ourselves, we're able to retain an identity.
Yeah.
But when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we are seeing ourselves, aren't we?
Right. Well, you're seeing, but you're perceiving yourself to be something that you're not. Because you're unwilling to accept yourself as you are.
Why is it not that?
Pardon?
Why is it not that?
You're not accepting yourself as a man.
Yeah, but on what basis are you standing?
See, no, he's saying, they always say the same things. Now, it's up to people can do whatever they want to do. We're not here to judge what the people want to choose to do or whatever. But what these it's a socially engineered script, and they always say the same things. Why does it matter to you? And just let people do what it is they want to do. And there's another one that they always seem to say as well, that it's, they say that sex is not gender. Gender is something different, and they can just do what they want. Now, this is how it works, because the 40 is always limited with everything. Why does it matter? Because they're not prepared to think of any discomfort. When you're thinking of anything that could be discomfort, that requires the brain to work. It requires you to work in darker areas. It requires strength and depth and stuff like that. So you can't think, well, if children there's a regret rate now where these, like he's going to go and say this individual died of sepsis, but there's a regret rate where their psyche becomes even more devastated because of what they've actually done. Now, the psyche is constantly playing a massive part with the whole thing. Everything is about the psyche. There is nothing else. There's nothing else to it. So when we are inauthentic, operating from inauthenticity, right? You could be doing. You could claim that you, for some reason, you could feel as though from some existing traumas that are within you, that you hear about this non-binary at school, because there are people on this channel that have come out recently and said, listen, I got this ideology from school, this non-binary that I'm using, that I'm posing as, I got it from school, right? We find there's an underlying deep trauma in there, that once the work is being done, some liberation is received, and now the individual grows to a degree and decides that, in actual fact, I don't want to identify as this non-binary, because there's a reason why I'm doing it, which wasn't actually authentic, it wasn't stemming from my authentic self, it was coming from my inauthenticities that were born about from my childhood, right? So without that level of depth, it means that mind control, that ideology can take place even still inside something that may be genuine, because now what that's doing is it's breaking up families. It's breaking up where somebody was going to grow and potentially have a family or whatever. Now they're not going to reproduce no more. So now what I'm doing is I'm reducing the population psychologically, mentally, without actually having to lay a hand on anybody. It's very, very clever.
Why doesn't it matter, like, why can't you just go around the world on your own, doing your own thing, being kind to everyone?
Yeah.
Everybody does their own thing. Like, why
I agree. I agree with you.
You obviously don't.
I do.
How do you agree?
Right.
If you stood there with that on,
yeah.
So how do you agree that you should just go around and do your own thing and not be so narrow-minded?
Are you willing to listen to the answer?
Yeah, no.
All right, okay. People can be who they want to be as long as it does not adversely affect anybody else.
How's it affecting you?
Okay. How does this affect me? How does it affect society?
See, so what a lot of people miss out, and a lot of men actually miss this out, because they've been taught to operate from this position of being a synth, and through their mothers, and through these mind controlling sorceress, Luciferian dark occult women, if you want to call them that, they've been able to create a psychology within the woman that automatically, by default, unconsciously suppresses any kind of active fire force that is stemming from, rebellious fire force, drive, alpha male that is within any man, to suppress it. And so that is what you're seeing now, this unconscious battle here between the rising lion in the man wanting to speak up against this control system, versus what they've done to the woman's mind is created a gatekeeper automatically, which is telling him again, just like you've seen earlier with the lesbian lady, is now this younger lady is also now coming to try to restrict him from speaking out against the truth in a courageous manner.
How does it affect other people? Have you got a daughter? Okay. Would you be happy for a fully grown man to be able to go into your daughter's changing room and get naked in front of your daughter? Just answer that, would you? You would? You would be happy with your daughter being with a fully grown man?
Right. So she's happy now for her daughter to go be getting changed in a public, in a public toilet or wherever it may be, with a strange, fully grown man. Yet she's standing here with the big bags. Look, the big shopping Primark bag, big clothes bags, on the Saturday with the vape and all the rest of it. Playing the part. We have to go right down to the bare bones. There's no point in saying, oh, we got we're going to take down this system, and you're worrying about, even when you're thinking about conspiracies, you think about Tartaria and all this sort of stuff that we were looking at years ago, NCP, all this sort of stuff, right? When the real conspiracy is right in front of our face, if you want to call it, work about conspiracies, and it is this psychological battlefield that is here in front of us, and it stems from the woman. The level of evil within the woman's psyche that restricts and will even throw its own children to the lions to defend evil. You've just seen it. You've just seen it. She would say that in that moment, or do it just to suppress that truth. She's unconsciously there, operating as with evil to do that. Just so that it can be right, just so that evil can be right, just so that the truth can be quietened down and silenced. Yeah. So you've seen it right there. There was another clip, I'm not going to play it because it's going to go on for too long, where I might even show it a different one. Or if you go on this guy's channel, you'll see it, where there's another lady, looks like a butch lady, operating again more towards the active polarity. She attacks him full on attacks him, right? He's left with bruises. The guy does martial arts, which is great. I actually do think that the way that, from my understanding of how this all comes together and how this works, from my initiative, adept, initiate, life that I've thrust myself into, right? From my stance, I would encourage that martial arts was involved in your growth here, without any shadow of a doubt. Martial arts, especially if you're a man, martial arts should be in there, because it's going to give you the tool to sharpen your sword when it comes to being able to continually overcome and tame the dragon, which is your ego, right? And teach you to become humble and to work on those sides of the fallen psyche and the dark psyche and in the shadow, right? Because without this work being done, there's nothing that we can do. And this is what you're seeing here now. You've seen it right here. There's no controller sat in this crowd, is there? But there are these women, look, there are these women here that come and attack, right? And if they are coming to attack any form of truth that comes out, what do you think they are saying, this lady is saying to her children, when, apart from the mind control that they're being force-fed through the chemicals and everything that the women are feeding these children, right, with the perfumes and the air wicks and all the stuff that they have, giving out the phthalates to their own children, when they are also driving this ideology home before any kind of, you're going on YouTube and so a lot of younger people that are coming into these truth areas and truth movements, stuff like that, they are operating within psyops where you're looking at Tartaria and all these other things that are never going to lead you to the truth, right? So this is why we say even the Bible and all these things, it is all coming from the Kabbalah. Because the Kabbalah is the one, it's the template that comes to us about this construct from outside the construct that's based around the psyche. It's based around the psyche. So the dual-headed God in the Kabbalah, Fomiel, right, is how you are coming with this transgender, gay, bisexual, all of these different forms of polarity. I had a situation, we're going to finish this now, wrap this up now with this other video, I'll talk about it at a different time, with two dogs, and the psychology of two dogs. One dog was homeless, there's a big dog. The other dog wasn't homeless, a small one. But the small one was infatuated with the big dog. The big dog was starving the small one by eating all of its food, right? And the small one was literally dying on its feet. It was even living outside in the rain when it had a home, just so it could be like the big dog. The big dog was bipolar, again, to form it, bipolar, right? It wasn't vicious, but it would still be quite boisterous, right? Now, the big dog's gone. As soon as the big dog's gone, the small dog's put weight on. It was crying at first, so it had a love-hate relationship with that big dog. And this is the type of scenario that we're seeing with parent and child. Parent and child has that scenario. Parent wants to see child self-sabotage the child unconsciously. Child grows up traumatized, X, Y, and Z, and the pattern continues. So anyway, I'm just going to quickly play something because it's key. Real truth, right? So I'll cut this off and I'll play that. And the reason is, just 30 seconds of the IMF, they're telling you that this Saturn and Pluto, Saturn and Neptune conjunction, right? They are telling you you need to be focused on what is happening in the reality. That's why we're looking at this. This is how you grow. This is how you get the shield of divinity, right? By focusing upon the actual mechanisms of the day-to-day workings of the construct, not what's going on in Tartaria, or what's going on in Pleiades, or what's going on in Flat Earth, or what's going on in incubator babies, and just all of that, all clowns and all sorts. Don't worry about none of that, because when you are in a camp, you don't want to be in a camp talking about Flat Earth or talking about you're giving astrological readings when you can't eat, because you can't eat because you are not able to get no tokens, because your conduct, AI is saying that your conduct means you are a threat to the system if you were even able to go and eat food and live like a normal human being. That is the type of scenario that is a real possibility now. So I'll just play that for 30 seconds. We'll close this one down.
I'm telling countries, accept reality. Fiat money is moving digital. The developments in crypto, both unbacked and backed, they're happening with exponential speed. So yeah, you can try to lock your country away from this. Good luck with it. So my members understand it and then decide for yourself how you're going to operate in this world. But do not close your eyes to reality. I'm telling countries, accept reality. Fiat money is moving digital.
Was written for Kabbalists, was written, in actual fact, by Kabbalists, for Kabbalists. Anybody else that interprets it, tries to read it, is subject to being to mind control, right? And that is because there's no way you would be able to, unless you have that true template, you will not know how all this comes together. So there are four worlds. The world above this world is the formative world. So everything comes, consciousness creates matter, right? And in the formative world is where the patterns are formed, and then we have the world above that, which is Briar, which is where you see these where the angels then actually, through those thoughts, they then drop down from Briar, from Atzelov to Briar, and then into the formative world, into the pattern world, and then from there they're made manifest in the physical world. So everything that comes from that we have here through mind, that we create through mind, is created elsewhere and then drops down into physical form. If you can grasp that, that's what happens. Now, when it's speaking in this way, the Lord in this Bible, it's literally talking about the being. If you look at it like a simulation, which is what it is, has created something whereby what it has created operates in this dysfunctional fashion, but it can only create it can only project what it is itself. Through its creation, it projects itself through its creation. So if this entity is an ignorant, bit foolish, entity, right, that's egotistical, that thinks that it knows everything, that operates in this ignorant fashion, right, in this very brutal fashion, right, then its creation is also the same as well. So it's literally telling us here that's what it tells us, that the Lord regretted making human beings because their wickedness was extreme and their thoughts were only evil, so he wiped them away with the animals and everything else, right? Why would that happen in that way? If this was the loving divine force, its expression is of pure love, that is not what this is. So we know, and then when we look at the apocalypse of Adam, it tells us how the architect of this construct, let Adam and Eve know that you are slaves in my construct, and I have created these bodies, and I have taken you from your immortal supreme state, and have encased you in these dense bodies that are extremely limited, and operate through this polarized electromagnetism, which contains a fire force that can just utter destruction. They can create utter destruction, and that is what it is telling us. That is why, but the game cannot be played if it's not hidden. So it has to be that you walk like the Mason degree, with the blindfold on the checkerboard floors, which is the polarized dual active and passive expression of electromagnetism. So this is why we have to dance and play this game, and this is why we have to have a ridiculous level of mental strength, because he will and does and can and will go all the way, because it is not real. It is not real. So I just wanted to express and say that, and we'll see you on the next one, because the next video I'm going to do is about something totally different, which is sort of, it's more on the I'd say more on the exciting edge. So I'll see you on the next one.